who else? I got to work with Mary Weiss from the Shangri-Las. That
was that the craziest
cool.
night in Coyote Studios with them?
With
Mary Weiss.
No, craziest night of Coyotes actually had nothing to do with music.
It never does. Dude.
The crazy. You want to know the crazy?
Yeah, of course, dude.
I don't know what year it was. Williamsburg was still kind of, it wasn't like, it was becoming the hip place, but there was still a lot of commercial buildings on our block. Eventually they all got converted into apartments and, you know, cafes and crap like that. But on the corner there was this textile building, and one night, I used to live there too. We had apartments upstairs. So one night I'm upstairs and you know, I'm hearing the doorbell ring. We have someone working the front desk. My brother's in the back recording, and all of a sudden, the intercom hits, and my brother Al's like, Mike. And I'm like, what? He goes, you got any peroxide? And I said, yeah. He goes, come on down. He goes, you got to come down here. Hurry up. So I come down. I come down into the lobby. We had like a little walk-in lobby, and then you go through a hallway, and then you're into the studio and the rehearsal rooms and all that. And there's blood all over the place.
Tell me Tupac got shot there.
No.
This is the first time.
Right? Blood, about the time I got there, there was just blood all over the place. And I'm like, what the hell happened? He's like, pour the peroxide on the blood. He goes, a hooker got stabbed, and she came knocking at our door. What it was a serial killer going around killing hookers, taking them up to the roofs, leaving them up there with bags over their heads.
Jesus
right? And it was on Channel
on
5 and everything.
On top of your building?
No, not on top of our building. But it was this guy who picked up the hooker, took her to where he worked, the textile building, did whatever he did to her, stabbed her, strangled her, left, came back, she was still alive, stabbed her some more. She had like 20 stab wounds in her or something like that. He left again. She gets up, comes down. She sees that, we had a window over the door, so I guess she saw it was, for some reason, she knocked on our door. The kid that was working the front desk opened it up, sat her down, and then went and got my brother. My brother's like yelling at him, like, why didn't you just call 911? Right? What are you bothering me for? Call 911. Right?
Did she die?
No, she didn't die. That was a Friday night. Monday morning, there was tons of undercover cops on our block, just sitting, waiting for the guy to come back to work. The guy worked there, so he actually came back Monday to work.
And they arrested him?
And they grabbed him. And that was the end of all the hookers getting killed in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And another funny story about that was this guy that lived a couple blocks away from us took his mom up to the roof, strangled her, put a bag over her head to make it, copycat, to kind of maybe get away with it. This is before the guy got caught. Right? He did a copycat so he can get away with murdering his mom. And they realized it was him, and some great stories from Williamsburg.
Sick.
I think that was the craziest night.
Right up our alley. We're sick fucks, so we're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, and now we moved out here to the beach. Whoever.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, that big story out here.
Dumping the bodies.
Me and you could tell some pretty good stories about the addictions, the recording of addictions with Rick Rivets. Those were fine times, but he's going to be here on Thursday night. So
are you going to interview him?
He's going to be here. And
but
I remember
Rick's a character.
Mike, we're sitting behind the board, and Rick's in the other room. He's got the acoustic plugged in. I walk in, I talk to him, I walk back, I sit behind the board with Mike like this. And 1, 2, 3, go. The song starts. It's on tape. Song starts. And Rick don't start playing at all. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? So I walked over and look, he's sleeping.
Yeah, he's asleep.
He was nodding. Just out. And we're going, Rick, get up, down. I had to physically walk out, shake him. Oh, yeah, Scott, I'm right. Walk back in. By the time I sit back down, he was out again. Jesus. I said, that's it. We're stopping today. So that was one of the days at Coyote while recording Addictions. And that was a good time. Okay, what else you got there?
So what's your perfect mix? Like, making an album. How do you do your process? Like, what do you feel is necessary, like in the levels of everything?
Well, I don't know if there's ever a perfect mix. You could always tweak a mix. At Coyote, the thing was I had a set of Yamahas and I had a set of Yuri's 813s in the wall, soffit mounted, probably about 6 feet from the floor. It wasn't up in the corner like most people have. And I know I had a really good mix when I didn't know actually what speakers were on. Like,
Right.
you could switch from the Yamahas to the Uris. And, it was just, it was,
Like applause.
sonically it was a good mix. I mean, someone could say, well, maybe this is too loud or that's too loud, but that's how I know,
Right.
engineering-wise, I had a really good sounding mix.
So,
On the acoustic, sonic size of it. But I don't know. I mix to where I think the band likes it, and then I have actually asked the band, what do they want to tweak? It's their music, so
so
that's
you'd
the
rather
way I
have
do
the
it.
band in the control room with you rather than you doing it on yourself, just so it's like a kind of like a.
Yeah, I mean,
Group kind
like I
of
said, it's their music, so I want feedback. It could get crazy with the whole band
Right.
in it because you get the the more me syndrome.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't hear my
I can't
cymbals.
hear it, yeah.
I can't hear this. So
Can you turn that guitar up just
when
a
it
little
gets
bit more?
when it gets crazy like that, it's usually like bands that are young in the studio and don't kind of just learning about it. But then you kind of like, well, try to pick a band member that's kind of in charge that can help you produce it.
It's always got to be one or two.
And then
you
you
gotta have
kind of tell the other ones to go in the lounge and rest your ears. Come back and listen to it.
Go get something to eat.
Yeah.
the rest of you just come back in a week.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
most important thing. A lot of times when I'm mixing, when I'm starting to mix, I'll tell the bands to go get coffee or something, band members to get coffee. Let me get it going. Let me get it to a point where, I'd like you to come in the room and hear it. Instead of sitting there, because if you sit there for hours and hours, your ears play tricks on you. And, then
course,
again,
you're
you get
fried.
into the more me thing,
Right.
So, on that subject right now, if there's an album out right now that you'd listen to, and to put your touch on it, would there be what album would it be? Like if you would say you'd listen to it, and be like, oh my god, I would do something different with the guitar levels or the drums or something. To me, to
90%
give
of
an
the music
example,
out there today.
for me, I would go with Saint Anger by Metallica.
Yeah.
I think the drums on that album sound like shit. Sounds like trash cans. And I'm a Metallica fan. I love them.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the fuck they were thinking of recording that album with the drums sounding like that. It sounds like Animal from the Muppets playing the drums. I can't even make a tinny sound, but that's what it sounds like. So
I don't really like to critique anybody else's mixing. There was a point where I actually could not listen to music because I would sit there and say, oh, that's a weird snare sound, or that's...
I could have done this. I could have done
Not that I would do something different, it's just like, that's a weird snare sound, or that bass drum sounds like crap, or this... And, I was listening more to it as an engineer than as someone who appreciates music.
Yeah.
So I actually stopped for a while, and then I get back into music where I can actually listen to it, and I don't really care what... if it's a good song, and it sounds halfway decent, then I'm happy with it. I wouldn't, I mean, with Pro Tools,
Well,
I think a lot of things sound like shit.
Okay, so when you go back and think of the people you worked with and some of the stuff you've done,
Yeah.
is there any time that you thought, wow, if I just could do this one more time, it would have because you did the Malcolm in the Middle,
Yeah.
the theme song for Malcolm in the Middle, and it got you guys, what, a Grammy?
Yeah, they won a Grammy, which trickles down to the
Right.
studio.
sick.
Yeah.
That is...
Actually, I
that's
did
there.
editing on that. My brother did most of the engineering on that.
So you wrote the theme song for this?
Yeah, they did the theme. It was They Might Be Giants did work out of our studio. They got I think they were doing it. We did it for 2 seasons, I think it was.
Cool.
And they would come in. they would record a bunch of songs, and then I would take. They would record it on tape, analog, and then we would dump it to a DAT or dump it into Pro Tools, the mixes. Right? They would mix it, and then I would go back into the Pro Tools room and I would edit it into like 30 seconds, minute long, and then they would send it out to California, and the producers would put it where they wanted it.
Wow.
Malcolm sitting on the couch.
So that's
Malcolm
a big
sitting
level
on the
that you. I mean, that was like a crazy level that you were on.
Yeah. So they did the theme song with us. There's actually 2 mixes. One my brother did, which is the one that's playing on the TV show, and then the one that this guy, great engineer and producer Bob Claremont, got paid to mix it, and that was the radio version that was being played for a while.
Awesome.
But they won the Grammy for the TV show, and then it trickles down to the studio.
That also happened.
My brother
during
got credit
Addictions,
for.
sessions. That's because I was there when it happened. I was like, that
Holy
was
shit.
really awesome, man.
Yeah, man, that looks great on your resume, man.
Yeah.
We had Walter Lore come in
Yeah.
down there. Walter, Rent Party. That's something else I wanted to
Yeah, we
say.
did. Worked
Rent
on,
Party was a great album by the Waldos.
Waldos. Yeah. With Andy Sharnoff produced that. Andy used to do a lot of work out of our studios. Andy's from the Dictators, Manitoba's Wild Kingdom. He did a lot of stuff with Joey Ramone. He does stuff on his own. He was the writer for the Dictators.
Yeah, they were great. Man.
Yeah.
Loud, they were.
Yeah, they're a cool band. They're still around. They get together once in a while.
I'd
That's
love to do a
Manitoba's
show with
band,
them.
right?
Yeah,
I'd love to do
I
a
love
show.
that bar. I think it's still around, right?
Yeah.
We should-
Manitoba, yeah, he's still
I'd
around.
love to do a show.
He's
with
got
the
his own
Dictators.
radio show now on
Cool.
Sirius.
Maybe we can get him
it's
on.
a club.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Calling out, Wild Dick Manitoba.
Manitoba.
Come on down, brother. Come
Come
to
on
Loud
in.
and Proud. So, in closing,
Yeah.
we just have one more question for you. What don't you take for granted?
What don't I take for granted? Waking up every morning. There's a couple things. I guess be corny. My wife. My kids.
Right.
Just the way my life is going.
That's
You
a
know?
real man for you
Yeah.
right there, man.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, that's another episode of Loud and Proud.
That's right. And
man.
We have a thing, the douchebag of the week, right?
today, I was getting ready to say, this week's douchebag of the week is no other than Mr. Wiener himself.
Wiener!
Wiener showing his wiener.
My erect wiener in my boxers.
Just think
So,
of the fucking people that
you
are
made
running
those-
our country. These fucking morons send their dick
It's a
across the
21-year-old
internet.
girl.
Who doesn't know that, Facebook or putting your picture up anywhere on the internet or tweeting or whatever, it's not going to end up somewhere. And these are the people that are running our country.
Great.
Come on.
Unreal.
So, Anthony Wiener, you are our
douchebag.
douchebag of the
Retire,
week.
dude.
That's